Don't you love Moomins? I love Moomins. Hello and welcome to my channel, where we talk about crafts of all sorts. Last video, I had a friend tell me that the audio was a bit quiet. I don't currently have a microphone, so it's just the audio that gets recorded on the camera. So I will try to project. I'll try to unleash my inner American and shout a bit at the camera, just so I can make sure you can hear me. Because all the audio is integrated into the video, I think there's sort of a limit to the editing I can do to the audio. But next time I'm also, well, for this video, I'm also going to try to ump the audio just to make 100% sure. It's one of those things where when you're editing, you don't really like hearing your own voice. So it doesn't, regardless, that's not what we're here for, not me just talking about editing. We're here to talk about wonderful mozzarellas. Wonderful slabs of Moomin meat. I want to be a slab of Moomin meat. If you don't know that joke, you don't know that joke. I'm so sorry. Today, I want to share some patterns. Knit patterns and crochet patterns and sewing patterns that are all Moomin inspired, because I love the Moomins. And I want us to have a Moomin Midsummer Madness summer. I want to start this video out with a little bit of a disclaimer. As far as I know, there's maybe one or two, there's probably more, books and patterns that are made as a direct tie-in to the Moomin brand. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't make those, okay? That's really important. You should make whatever you want. But one thing to remember about Tove Jansson, who wrote the Moomin books, who is the creator of the Moomins, is that she was really cool. She was lesbian, and she was not a capitalist. So I think one of the most important things we can do if we like the Moomins, not just for their cute design, which if that's the only reason you like the Moomins, that's totally fair, I understand, because it is really cute, but also for the messages in the books and Tove's own viewpoints. I think it's really important that we don't necessarily give lots of money to the big corporation that is now the Moomin brand. I have a few things that is like official Moomin merch, but I try to not buy it anymore. I do have other Moomin things from like small designers and stuff, and I think that's super duper in the spirit of Tove, but I try to not give to the brand. She's passed away. She passed away a long time ago. So the money doesn't go to her. It goes to a brand that isn't, as far as I know, related to her family. So I'm not saying it's like terrible and unethical to spend money on any of the official books or any of the official patterns, but I wanted to do something else. And also a lot of it is usually for kids. And all of these patterns that I'm going to share today are not for kids. Some of them have kid sizes, but they're all for adults. They're all thought for me. For me. All the patterns I've selected today, I've tried to make sure are size inclusive. As I talked a little bit about in my last vlog, it's really important to me that patterns are size inclusive. Because they should be. Again, I think there's some leeway to free patterns especially, but other than that, I do think patterns should be size inclusive, and I want anyone who comes here to be able to make the patterns that I'm sharing. Now, let's start with the knitting patterns. So the first pattern I want to share is the ruffle collar layer by, and I need to make sure I pronounce his name at least somewhat correctly, Natasha Gizamova. The reason I have picked some color patterns, I picked this and I've also picked a crochet pattern, is because a lot of the Moomin characters wear colors in their visual design. So I think having a detachable color as an accessory is super duper in the mood. This color is in a range of sizes, can be made for kids and adults, and is knit in a plain stockinette and has like a ruffle edge to it with a little I-cord to tie at the front. I just think it's really cute. It looks adorable. It's knit on 3mm needles, and I think it would work out really, really quickly. You could make it probably without the ruffle, and that would make it even more minimalistic, which sort of fits in the spirit of the Moomin characters. Next up is the Oporto Tee by Susanne Sommer. This is so cute and stripy. It reminds me a lot of Tutiki, which is a character that has a very like navel design, and also it gives a bit of Moomin Mama with her striped apron. The top is loose fitting, which I think is very practical. It doesn't sit in like really tightly on you, and I think the sample is knit, like the sample that you see on when you go on the Ravelry page is knit in a wool and linen blend, so I think it would look really, really nice and work really nice in a summer yarn, even if you wanted to pick a yarn that has no wool in it. The pattern has a really interesting construction, so it's not worked in the round, it's worked entirely flat. And the whole pattern is worked in a 2x2 rib, and instead of being knitted from top to bottom or bottom up, it's knitted from one side to the other, and then you attach buttons to the side to be able to button it up, which I really like, which I think is a really cute idea with little cute sorts of, yeah, I just really like the ribbing detail on it, and especially the striped swatch gives like lots of texture, so you both have the ribbing detail, which kind of gives a stripy vibe, and then also the actual color stripes, which also give it stripes. If you're not so much for making a worked flat top, the other top I would recommend as a knitting pattern is the Tulsta Tee by Rebecca Clow. I don't think I need to talk too much about this pattern. It is very popular, for good reason. It's super beautiful and I really want to make one. It is worked in the round, and it's also worked in a slightly heavier yarn. So the last top, the Oporto Tee, is worked in a light fingering weight, while the Tulsa Tee is supposed to be worked in a DK weight. And it's very customizable, so you could make like the stripes, like you can see in one of the I was about to say swatch photos. Which you can see in one of the photos on Ravelry, but there's also a version with little eyelets, which is, I know, super popular right now, and which I also think has that sort of Moomin vibe, where the details are all simple details, small details, very soft details. Again, stripes give Tutiki. I think the little pointelle or eyelets give a sort of Snork Maiden with the flower crown, which she wears her flower crown, so cute. And I think there's also the Mimbless daughter also have a period where there are illustrations of like carrying flowers and stuff. So I really sort of see that as a part of the Moomin universe. Is, well, their connection to nature, of course, if you know anything about the Moomins, but also just super cute. The last knitting pattern I want to share is a shawl pattern. It's, of all of these, I think the most time consuming because it's a lace shawl. It's called Beneath the Wisteria, and it's by Denise Bartels. This is so beautiful. I think it's the most sort of intricate of the patterns. But I think it's just so absolutely beautiful. And again, it reminds me of sort of the themes of nature in the Moomin books, and also all of the illustrations where they all pick flowers or wear flower crowns or are surrounded by flowers. There's a lot of floral imagery in the Moomin books. I think a lace color shawl would be really good for like slightly cooler summer evenings. I think it'd be really cute, but it would be pretty time consuming unless you're used to working shawl patterns. But it's so beautiful, and it really gives that wisteria vibe to it. Next up, I want to share 3 crochet patterns. The first, as I said, another color, which is the Raven color by Haley Bailey. I think this is really cute. It's a smaller color, and it's very simple. Again, colors are such an staple of the Moomin garments, and I just think like they're so cute to make and have, and I think this crochet one will work up super duper quickly. It needs, I think on Ravelry it says it needs 50 yards, which is nothing. I'm gonna check that, but I think it is about that much. Yeah, 50 to 60 yards, which is nothing. That is really something where you can just use your stash. And I just love that. It calls for being worked flat on a 4mm hook with DK weight yarn, and it uses US terminology. Next up is this absolutely adorable dress. It's called the Astrid Flower Dress, and it's by Hilvi and Ingrid. I'm not sure where they're from, but Hedwig is spelled the way you would do in Danish. I think this is so cute. With the like big flower motifs, which again gives a bit of like visual interest, but without being too much. Again, it's also quite loose. It's not tight fitting, which fits the silhouette of the Moomin books, of all the characters. I mean, even Snufkin wears what I would consider a dress, and that's a very loose like tunic dress too. I think this is absolutely adorable, and I really want to make it. I noted that it said in one of the projects commented that the fabric of the dress can become a bit heavy, so that's one thing to keep in mind, and that it might be good to reinforce the sorts of areas that can easily get stretched, like the straps and the armholes, with like grosgrain ribbon or twill tape or something like that, just to make sure that it doesn't go too much out of shape. It is, however, worked in a 4-ply, so I don't know if the person just knitted it in a heavier yarn. I haven't made the pattern myself, so I can't comment on whether that's been my experience or not. And it uses US terminology. The last crochet pattern I want to share is this Bright Bulbs Button Up by Lauren Willis. I absolutely love this. I also really want to make this. It's a really cute short sleeve button up with tulips on it. I think it's super androgynous. I always have a problem with talking about androgynous patterns, because I often find that we use that term to describe patterns that are actually just more masculine, which means that masculinity becomes ungendered while femininity becomes gendered. And I think we need to maybe be careful and mindful of that. But this is more sort of androgynous, while still having floral designs on it. I could 100% see somebody like Snufkin wear this. It is so cute. I really want to make it. It's worked flat on a 4mm and 5mm hook in a DK weight yarn, and has both US and UK terminology, which I think is really nice. The next thing I want to share is some is some sewing patterns. I am basically doing this because I need to get back into sewing. I need to start using my machine again. And I think just getting some inspiration for some absolutely cute sewing patterns is the way to go with that, really. So I have a few different sewing patterns that I want to share, which I think give absolute Moomin vibes. The first is the Wildflower Pinafore by Twig and Tail. Now, you can find an endless amount of pinafore patterns on the internet. From big brands to indie brands, free patterns. You can use whichever you like, but I think in general a pinafore is just such a Moomin vibe. It'll be really good layering piece with some of the crochet and knit patterns, but I especially love this Wildflower one. It has a few different design elements that I like. It can be made with or without pockets, and it has a few different back closure methods, which I think just makes it like super viable for different people who have different needs. So it has a big ribbon closure in the back, but you can also make it with little button closures. I think this is absolutely adorable, and it would be so great to make in a linen fabric. Because of how you can do the tied back, and that is the tied back is specifically, as far as I can tell, directly related to your straps. You can make it adjustable in the straps, which I think is really important. And you can do the same with the button ones, because you just put some more buttons on at the bottom of your straps, and that way you can make it adjustable. It has a flat front, which I think looks really nice, but an elasticated back. So again, makes for your like no problems with like growing in sizes, but will also sit nice and comfortable and not be too restrictive. For me, it gives like super Moomin Mama in her apron vibes and Miss Abel in her little like apron bit vibe. I love it. It's so cute, and I really, really want to make it. The next sewing pattern is the Zero Waste Gore Skirt by Process of Sewing. I think the idea of making a zero waste skirt is super duper, again, Moomin. It's very, for me, how I think of the Moomins and Tove Jansson and caring for the environment and the world. But it's also just beautiful. A big skirt with lots of gauze means that it's nice and voluminous to do lots of swelling in a beautiful field. You know, like, I'd love that. Find a cute meadow full of flowers, because those are super common everywhere, and just twirl in the sunlight. It's also made with pockets, which I absolutely love. Obviously, it's always good to have pockets. You don't have to make it with pockets. You might not like to have pockets in your garments for whatever reason, but they're there, and that makes it super duper practical. The next pattern is a pair of trousers. I picked the Quinn trousers from Merchant & Mills because they have a sort of nautical vibe to me. But I think any sort of what I would consider broadly utility trousers would work really well. I personally really prefer high-waisted trousers because they sit best on me and my body shape, and that makes them really practical for me. But if there is a different fit of trousers you like, I think just pick that. Merchant & Mills in general just has a lot of really, really cool and good trouser patterns that I think are really good for that practical vibe. But the reason I really, really like the Quinn trousers specifically is because it has that nautical vibe, which again gives too ticky. You could make these and wear them with like the Oporto tee or the Tolsta tee, and you would really just, it'd give sailor vibes. It would be, I'm going to the harbor to enjoy the outdoors, go on a boat. I don't know anyone who owns a boat these days, but you know. The next sewing pattern I want to share is the Olive Dress by Untitled Thoughts. This has the Moomin silhouette for me. Dress tunic that doesn't have a defined waist. Of course, you could yourself make a waistband or wear it with a belt, but all of the dresses you see in the Moomin books are don't get defined around the waist. It's very loose fitting. It has pockets. We like practicality, very Moomin. I think it's just great with the no waist shaping and the simple details with the little ruffle edge at the bottom of the skirt of the dress. And also that it's a strappy dress means that you can layer it, you can have something over it, you can have a top over it or under it, but also just great for the summer weather, so that you don't have too much bulk on you. And I think it might be fairly easy to put some sleeves on it if you wanted to, and if you know how to do that. That's definitely a thing you could do. But I just think it has the summer vibes. It has a silhouette of a Moomin, a Moomin garment, and just super cute. I could imagine making that in red, and it'd be little me. I would love that. The next pattern I want to share is the Carol top by Summer House. It's a super simple, just, I think for me, summer top with not with straps, but well, straps with wide straps and a button front. It's made originally to upcycle like old vintage tablecloths that have like embroidery on it. It has a lovely relaxed fit, which I really like, and I can't remember now, but I think you don't necessarily have to do the button front. So if you don't like having a button front, you can just do it flat. And so I think I like that versatility, and I like the idea of maybe making it in a vintage tablecloth, but also just whatever fabric you have around. I think that's such a lovely idea, really. So yeah, I really like that. The last thing I want to share in this video is an amazing garment pattern, I think. I haven't used it. I want to use it, but I think this is so suitable. It is the Lotus dress by AnaCaptainslogue. It's not only a dress patterns, it's one of those pattern packs. So it has a dress and a skirt and a top, and all three of them are extremely customizable. They have you can make it strappy, you can make it sleeved with short sleeves. I can't remember, you can do longer sleeves, you can do a button front, you don't have to do a button front, you can do it V-necked and sort of a higher bow neck. I'm really terrible at neck shapings. The skirt can be made with a button front and without a button front. This is so versatile. When you see the first photo on Threadloop, which is the website I'm going to share all of these sewing patterns, that's just Lily. Like, that dress is just her. And you can layer it with a collar you've made and make it like really her. So I just think it's such a versatile pattern. Booklet, almost a pattern booklet, we could almost call it. It's super versatile. The shaping around the waist is relaxed fit, so you don't have any of that waist shaping that I think matches so much with the Moomin vibe of having that sort of unwasted silhouette. And I also think that makes it super practical. And I say that as somebody who really likes form-fitting garments as well. Okay, those are all the patterns I wanted to share with you. Yeah, please let me know what you think. I feel like this video is shorter than I wanted it to be. But there's not much you can say. You're just sharing patterns and vibes and feelings. If you found any crochet, knitting, sewing, weaving patterns that you think have the Moomin vibes, and if you also want a Moomin summer, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching.